Before I start the video, I would like to give a massive shout out to my Patreons who have been supporting my channel. If you would like to check out my Patreon and receive early access to some very exciting videos coming soon, then please click the link in the description below. Hello there, and welcome back to the Just a Nerd podcast. And for the 11th episode, or should I say 11.5, and I've just realised, boom! I'm here! Hello! And I'm joined by a very special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I am. First of all, great to be here, Jack. Thank you for having me. I am Jack Alexander, talking head of Doctor Who Twitter and co-runner of running a Doctor Who podcast.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, Jack. As I said to you before in what will now be a lost Just a Nerd episode, it is an honour to have a fellow Jack on here to be talking about Doctor Who and all sorts of nerdy stuff. So, for the definitely for the first time, I'm asking you this. When did you first become a fan of the show?
I mean, it's always been with me, Doctor Who, in a way, but I sort of came to it first of all when I saw trailers for what turned out to be Doctor Who Night, which I think was 1998. No, 1999, I think. It was sometime around there. It was definitely primary school, and it was on quite late at night. It was about 9 o'clock at night, which was too late for me. So my parents got a VHS, and that's instantly shut off.
Whoa,
Half the people
VHS,
listening to
what's
this are
that?
going to
Oh.
that. Yeah, it's a video. Basically, it's where you can record what you're watching. It's what we used to have to use back in the day, and so I recorded that and watched it back. There are a lot of references I didn't recognise in it. Mark Gatiss and David Walliams doing sketches in it. At one point, they kidnapped Peter Davison, and I was just going, "Oh, this is quite funny." But I didn't really understand it. I didn't really get the gist of it. You know, I know I enjoyed it watching it back, and there was the last episode of the Dalek serial, the original with William Hartnell, and that was great. And then a friend of mine, a couple of days later or a couple of weeks later, said to me that, oh, they're showing repeats of Doctor Who on now after that. So I think it was a big thing that the BBC was sort of testing the waters to be like, oh, could we try it again? Could we bring it back? And they showed a couple of John Pertwee ones. They started with Spearhead from Space, amazing. And I have this really vivid image of watching the Silurians, and there being this, and it's a weird sort of Mandela effect because I've watched the Silurian since, and this shot is not in the story anywhere. I have this image of like a close up, John Pertwee walking into a room, a close up of the back of a Silurian's head, and it turning around, and that being like the cliffhanger. But that's not something that happens at all. So I don't know where I got that from at all. And then I think growing up in the UK, you kind of know Daleks
Yeah.
anyway. Because I remember seeing like adverts, there's like a Kit Kat advert which had them on or something. Where they go around going like peace and joy, peace and joy. I want a cuddle. It's like I want a cuddle or something like that. You know, so you don't expect to see Daleks doing. And then I think it was like seeing like the Peter Cushing movies on like bank holidays as well, which was always really cool and really loved. I really got this affinity for Daleks. And then it just sort of it went away for a bit, really. And then I remember hearing that this thing, Doctor Who, was going to be coming back in 2005. And I'll always remember the day really, really in my mind. I could run through that entire day in my head. That's the 26th of March, 2 days before my 14th birthday. I sat down. My parents had got a curry. So I sat down and I watched. And by the time the titles rolled, the curry was cold and I hadn't touched it at all because I was just glued to the screen.
Nice.
And yeah, just And of course, then that set off the hyperfixation in me, and I've not really looked back since. So
I mean, I completely get that as well, Jack, because as soon as I watched Doctor Who for the first time, which for me it was 2005 with Rose, by the time, yeah, well, I didn't watch series one consistently. I think I dipped in and out, but by the time I'd watched the Partner of the Ways, and as I used to say to my friends that, oh yeah, you should watch this show because at the end, the main guy blows up and he changes into another man. Really bizarre concept. But yeah, by the time I'd watched that episode, I was hooked. I was getting, the character option stuff as well. And yeah, I really became, I guess, like a hardcore fan, and I've never really looked back. And I think that's the thing about being a Doctor Who fan. It's, once you're
yeah,
in,
and I think a lot of people. Sorry, there's me talking over you there.
no, it's all right. Go
I do
ahead.
that on my podcast all the time, just talking over people. I was going to say, and I think people sort of forget as well that at the time it was event television. Everyone was talking to when series one was going on, so much so that I remember like people like saying, because I like family members telling me like things were going to happen for the articles and like headlines that were coming out, and I was like, no, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And then so I remember them people telling me like, oh, Chris Eccleston's going to turn to David Tennant. And I went, well, I won't like him.
And
And
look
of
what
course
happened.
now David Tennant's my favorite Doctor. So
Yeah, well, like that's the thing, with Doctor Who fans, and we probably all felt this once or twice or even more. Like the show itself is about change, and that change, especially these days, happens every few years, whether that be in front of the camera or behind the camera. Doctors, companions, showrunners, all of that stuff. And yeah, when we see the like the replacement for whichever role, and we're like, oh, are they really going to top what's happened before? And I've felt that for a lot of years, and I think the only time I haven't, to be honest, has been recently because I've just kind of learned that whatever's going to come next, it's going to be good because Doctor Who's now at the point because it's got it's been around for 60 years. I feel like Doctor Who, it's now being written by fans of the show, so it's gonna get the love and care that it should get, but also it's at a unique point because it's got a long history. There's a big fan base, and I'm sure you'll agree as well. The new era looks fantastic already. And yeah, I
yeah,
think
I can't wait.
like it is going to be certainly an event as well. We've got the 60th anniversary coming literally in a couple of months. And yeah, it just really does get me hyped. But Jack, I am curious because you said that you started watching Doctor Who at a unique stage through VHS, no less. Haha, see what I did there. Let's talk about your love for the classic era as well, in a little bit of a unique segment where I ask you if you had to pick one episode from the classic and modern Who, which one would be your favorite and why? Not to put you under any pressure, obviously.
Oh, do you know what? It's a lot harder for me to pick my favorite classic serial because I love so many of them, and I could sit here and I could gush about at least one for every Doctor, more for every Doctor, really. So I'm gonna go New Who first because that's a very easy pick for me, and then I'll come back to that one if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I do feel very vanilla. I do feel very basic to say it, but my favorite revival story is genuinely the Day of the Doctor.
Nice. So would you explain why that's your favorite?
It's well, for many reasons. First and foremost, because it's a great comfort episode for me. I look back on it and I remember being so hyped for that episode at the time and it fulfilling so many hopes and dreams I had for the 50th anniversary in terms of celebrating Doctor Who as a whole. And there's great little bits of fan service without it being sort of too much as well. And it's one which I've always put on when, say, there's a hardship I'm going through, I felt a bit down, I've put it on, and it's been there for me. I mean, particularly during lockdown,
Yeah.
the it along with watching all these other episodes sort of saved my love for the show at a very turbulent time for me. So yeah.
No, that's a really good choice, and it's very interesting that you bring up about comfort episodes as well. And obviously, when we're, us nerds, when we're going through like hard times and that, yeah, we do turn to, the stuff we're obsessed with to kind of, yeah, as a form of escape. And you know what? I'm gonna throw in my comfort episode now, which is a bit of a strange choice, I admit, but it's actually a two-parter from series one, Aliens in London and World War Three. And it's for a
I
very
love it.
weird reason, and it's because it's the most earthly story. It's kind of EastEnders-esque, especially the first part, and I just think it's the kind of realism that it goes for, in the sense, well, as realistic as you can get with farting aliens, but it's just kind of like, okay, life might seem a little bit bleak now, but at least you're not stuck in number 10 with monsters trying to start a nuclear war, and it's just like, that's the thing with comfort episodes. Once you're using them, as a form of like, just trying to relax, you know, you just get so absorbed. And then I find myself doing like a series one rewatch. And I don't know if you do the same after the Day of the Doctor. Do you end up going to the Time of the Doctor, or what's your
Yeah, because Time of the Doctor is another one I absolutely adore and can't watch without just crying my eyes out. Because
yeah,
I think a lot of people sort of diss it, but I think it's a fantastic, like, swan song for Matt Smith. I think it's a
yeah,
fantastic cap off to his era, genuinely.
yeah,
And going back to Aliens of London / World War Three, that's such a great pick. Because I love, it's sort of the most domestic Doctor Who ever
yeah,
gets. Maybe you could look at something like Love and Monsters and say that's pretty domestic as well in terms of things. But in terms of featuring the Doctor, it's the most domestic the story ever gets
yeah.
for them. So that's and I love it. I do. Um, I am crying out the target novelization of that one. I tell you now.
Oh, I would love that, honestly. And you know what? I think you've probably seen on Twitter the other day, I did put up a post about bringing back the Slitheen and the Absorbaloff. The amount of lore that surrounds Raxacolica I would love to see, the different families and stuff like that. Give me like a crime spin-off series on there. I would love that.
That'd be so cool, especially if you think about, well, there was the rumor of that sort of like villains anthology series. Give us one with just like a really cool, yeah, crime syndicate of, Slitheen or Blatherine, if you want to do, a crossover with the Sarah Jane Adventures. Like, let's have that.
Yeah, that would be
Let's
insane.
go to Clom.
Oh, Club, yes. Oh, let's see, like the family of Sorbeloffs. That would be insane. That would be insane, honestly. But obviously, we're going off on a little bit of a tangent. So I'm going to go back to you on the favorite classic era story. Or if you want to give multiple,
Mm.
then that's completely fair.
Okay, I am absolutely gonna cheat then. I'm gonna go multiple, and
Okay.
I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna keep it down to three. I'm gonna keep it
Okay.
down to three sort of top ones for me. It's City of Death, which
Good
is
choice.
again a very very vanilla choice. Caves of Androzani,
Nice. I really love that one.
which is which is the best exit for a Doctor ever, basically, and Remembrance of the Daleks as well.
A really
Because
solid.
it's Seven and it's Ace and it's Dalek and it's let's face it, over Silver Nemesis, that's the 25th anniversary story.
Yeah, well and truly. And that story in itself, it I mean, that shows that Doctor Who, for an anniversary, it doesn't have to do a big blockbuster, special like Day of the Doctor. The Remembrance of the Daleks, it just did a simple little plot where, the Doctor goes back to Coal Hill School, which, was the setting of the first ever serial. and just having a little Dalek civil war. Something. Okay, yeah, it's not the most simple of plots. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to blockbuster style efforts and stuff. It's nice, and yeah, it's just a nice way to pay homage to the show's history.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love it so much because it's the first time you really see McCoy go into that sort of Machiavellian sort of stance on things and being times champion, and he has that great little exchange in the little tea shop where he's where Jeffrey from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is saying, do you want sugar in your tea? And he's, oh, would it make a difference? And of course, you've also got the symbolism that both sides of the Dalek are basically representing a race war, and it's amazing. It's a fantastic story.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up that symbolism there, because obviously the Daleks, as we all know, are obsessed with purity. And obviously, that's got themes because of with the Nazis and stuff. With Doctor Who, obviously, with the modern show as well, with the Daleks in Manhattan and evolution of the Daleks, going into that more often. Was that the first time that they had kind of tried to do that with the Daleks, with the whole purity thing? I know that Daleks were obsessed with
I
exterminating.
suppose. Yeah, I suppose it goes to maybe relation, where Davros is creating his own race, and that's then when the Daleks come in and arrest him, to take him to put him on trial, and then of course that spins into Remembrance later, because he's created his own Dalek faction, and I think that's right, but I'm sure people would, because it's so sort of, it's intrinsic to the Daleks, is that purity, because let's face it, they're space pepper pots that are also Nazis. Let's be honest. They are. They're Nazis, and they have been since day one. So when people, not to get political, but when people are like, "Oh, Doctor Who, it's got all woke now, it's all political," and it's like, well, I don't know. Look back to 1963.
That's what I mean. Again, I don't want to misquote, but I think Terry Nation did obviously write them to be, like as you said, based off the Nazis, but wasn't it also based off his experiences from around World War II? I could be completely wrong here, but
yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. In terms of things, I can't say a specific quote, but I believe there's some truth in that. Yes.
And of course, the Daleks are literally anything that's not Dalek, exterminate. I mean, there you go. You can't really argue that one.
Yeah, they're literally, they're fascists. They're obsessed with purity, and it's
pretty much they've got a massive label on their casing for that. But yeah, like that concept, obviously, it started around the end of the classic era, and then it got expanded upon with the Series 3 two-parter, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks, where Dalek Sec, he wanted to do something else with the Dalek race, something beneficial. Don't get me wrong, in a weird way, but then he ended up getting stabbed in the back with a plunger, which you know what, I thought was really heartbreaking. But what were your thoughts on that story, Jack?
I'm a big Daleks of Manhattan / Evolution apologist. I really enjoy it for, if nothing else, it's great to watch a bunch of British actors pretend to be American and pretend to be in New York, and it's like you can very clearly see that it's Cardiff. You can very clearly see that it's like it's Butte Park and stuff they record there, and it's great to see Andrew Garfield in Doctor Who as well before he explodes in his career, what have you. I like it, and I do like the idea as well that Dalek Sec he's trying to think of ways to just to make the Dalek survive. And that's why he's been made, is to think differently about things. And then he tries to do this. We need to evolve. We need to do this, and it's too much for them who are based on purity. And then it ends like that. I think it's really it just hammers home again the sort of hypocrisy that the Daleks sort of just exemplify.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And again, like with I guess that's the magic of Doctor Who because yeah, Doctor Who has always, done like, certain like to tackle like real world issues and stuff like that. And there's so many multiple ways, especially with Doctor Who's narrative structure for episodes. They can either do it like really heavily, where it's like the actual, you know, plot of the episode, or you can do it in a subtle way, like with the Daleks, because as we've literally just been discussing about, the Daleks are driven by, wanting to purify existence. They just want Daleks to be existent, which I think is very unique about the show.
On a separate note, it also has a banging song in Put the Devil in You.
Oh yes, oh yes, I really love that one. And to be honest, I think I went for a stage in lockdown playing that on repeat. Which,
Not
yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah, that was certainly a time of
See,
my life.
it was the Shepherd's Boy for me.
Shepherd's Boy, honestly, again,
I
another
was just playing
banger
the
one.
Shepherd's Boy on repeat. Yeah.
Again, that is another banger. But let's move on to the future of the show because we've talked a lot about the past. But I'm sure you're aware, Jack, we've got the 60th anniversary coming along very soon. And I was curious to know
What?
what. Yeah, I know. 60th. What? See what I did there? The what, yeah. But what are your expectations for the anniversary specials?
Oh, I think David Tennant's going to be in it. I
Oh, is
think I've
he?
seen that somewhere. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. I think he
I,
might have been on like a cover of Doctor Who magazine or something, maybe once or twice. I don't
oh, Doctor Who magazine.
know. No, yeah. No, I'm. Oh, well, I think I'm one of those people that the 60th is sort of tailor made for
Yeah,
because it's just David Tennant, Catherine Tate, sold.
yeah.
Davis, sold. The Meep,
Yes,
sold.
yes. There is so much,
I,
especially with me as well being a 10th Doctor fan as well. The fact that David Tennant is back, and I'm not really, one to say that he's already come back. I'm not really that bothered about him coming back again because honestly, if it's Tennant and Tate content, I will literally eat it up because their chemistry is it's just amazing to see on screen. And not only that, these specials as well are going to be setting up
absolutely.
what's going to be coming next. With Shooty and Millie Gibson, I think it is going to be incredible.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think as hyped as I am for the 60th, and like I'll say it now, David's my doctor.
Yeah,
He's my favorite and as well. And yes, I'm excited about this again. I'd be excited. Even if Joe sort of gone straight again for the 60th, I would have been happy.
yeah,
So I'm excited for it anyway. But I'm so much more excited for what comes next.
yeah,
I'm so excited for Shooty and for Millie and what's going to happen with the new era and how just truly re-energizing it's going to be or regenerating. It's going to
yeah,
regenerate the show. It really is. Again,
yeah,
I
exactly. And
think
you
Shooty
are.
is so.
I was just going to say you are spot on with
I,
what you're saying. Oh, I think we're getting a bit of a delay again. Sorry.
I just slight delay. Yeah, it's all right. Work for it. I was
Yeah,
going
of
to say
course.
she's fresh and so enthusiastic and so iconic as well. Like already, just seeing photos, seeing little clips, it's just like this man was born to play the Doctor. This man was born to be so many people's favourite, and I'm just so excited.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun because Yeah, I'm also in the same boat as you. I'm really looking forward to the 60th. It feels like, yeah, it's tailor made to me. It's kind of everything that I wanted to see. A continuation of Series 4, get that little bit of extra content for it. However, the future looks a lot brighter as well. Disney are being involved, which, yeah, I know some people are worried about. But in Russell, I do honestly trust because Russell, he's a fan of the show, which we, discussed about earlier about, the show being written by fans. But he also does really love the brand, and the fact that he's come back to kind of steer the ship, it's just something that just feels so awesome and kind of feels unreal. Like, I don't know how you feel about it, Jack, but I am looking forward to what is coming up next.
Genuinely, the day it was announced, I was at work and I looked at my phone pretty much all day, and I got in my car and I just thought, oh, I'll just have a quick look, and I had the notification. I was like, oh, what's this? I just thought it was a joke. I genuinely thought it was one of those fake, Twitter accounts that pretends to be BBC Doctor Who,
Oh
and
yeah.
I clicked on it, and then but I thought everyone, crazy. Like on the tweets as well, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Like, oh, so he's 60th properly, and I was like, 60th and series. What is happening? And it was just, yeah, it was mind blowing. I still can't really believe it now.
Yeah, I know. Just like the fact it just kind of dropped out of nowhere because I think it was a couple months before that we had the news that Jodie and Chris Chibnall were leaving, and I remember when I first saw that I was kind of expecting it because it was leaked beforehand from certain tabloids, but then I remember feeling a bit like, oh, they haven't announced a successor because normally that's the case when it comes to showrunners anyway. So I was like, oh, I was curious to know who was going to be next, and I remember there were so many rumors. Like Sally Wainwright was heavily rumored to be one, and I never thought in a million years that Russell would come back. I never thought that he'd even write an episode again. So the fact that it just randomly dropped one day, just out the blue, I was like, what? I was completely mind blown.
I,
Like,
I always thought, oh, yeah, I just thought Russell would sort of come back in some way because he's too much of a. He's like a nosy neighbour that pokes his head
yeah,
over the wall. He can't stop pitching in. So I was like, oh, he'll do something. Maybe it'll just be a comic strip or something, and then, or maybe he'll just do an episode. Yeah. And then I was like, oh wait, no, he's showrunning. What is happening here? And it's you look at what Russell's done since Doctor Who as well, and he's coming at the back of some of the best TV we've had. It's a sin,
yeah.
years and years. Genuinely, the TV he's created since Doctor Who has been next level amazing. So I mean, I'm really excited to see what he does now with, almost 18 years, no, 15 years, experience since finishing. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, as you said, he's written some really amazing shows since, obviously the examples used, which are amazing. It's a Sin and Years and Years. Russell has kind of, in a sense, matured even further as a writer because obviously, as time flows and progresses, yeah, you get older. But obviously, as a creator, the way you create things, changes as you get older. And I feel like, yeah, Russell's approach to Doctor Who will be different compared to the way it was his first time round, which I am really looking forward to see what he's doing because the show is, as we said before, it's about change, it's about regeneration and, trying new things. And I feel like, yeah, Russell coming back and what he has planned, I think, yeah, it will be like having a new person to the show, but with a little bit of his signature.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. It's going to be it's so exciting. It's just so exciting.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But let's move on to a section which is a little bit more dedicated to you, Jack, because as you mentioned in your introduction, you are also a host of a Doctor Who podcast. And I would like to know, and the viewers would also like to know, um, what were your inspirations for starting this certain podcast?
I- Starting an awful lot of running came from just wanting to have an outlet to talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah,
That's the cut and dry of it. I texted my good friend Robin, my co-host, and said, "Do you fancy doing a podcast? Because I want to talk about Doctor Who." And he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And he was sort of taken aback that I'd asked him to do it. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to, really appreciate you." Because sort of growing up, I never necessarily had that many friends anyway, and Robin was a really good friend to me then. He was sort of the only friend I knew who really liked Doctor Who. So, I didn't have many friends. I certainly didn't have many that liked Doctor Who as well.
yeah,
So it was an outlet to talk about it. So, because I certainly wasn't sort of in the community on Twitter and things like that as much as I was. I was following people like Mr. TARDIS, who I had been for sort of since Will had started doing videos, and other people like Davis and Josh Carr, who obviously does the Who Knew podcast, and other people as well. And yeah, it was just a case of me going, I feel like I have something to say here, and I just wanna I just want to geek out.
yeah,
I just want to nerd out and talk about these episodes or hypotheticals or ideas or Big Finish. And that was another thing as well. I was thinking, well, maybe I want to do this show to sort of get more people into the expanded media. Because in my head, if you like the show, maybe you should be reading the comics, reading the
yeah,
books, and listening to the audios because it's just more of the good stuff.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
like you said, like the other stuff as well, expanded media, it does help with, especially recently, the gap years as well. Like, when we're not getting as much Doctor Who, which hopefully doesn't happen again. But like when you're not getting new material, you obviously, you want to keep yourself not necessarily invested, but keep yourself entertained, which I think is probably a good way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think there are so many little rabbit holes that you can go down the expanded media. I mean, you, I challenge anyone right now to go onto the TARDIS wiki and just type in a random word and just see where it takes you. Because I
Oh yeah.
typed in, vampire monkeys once, and it turns out the Doctor's fought them at least twice. So
Oh, well, that's certainly something. And I imagine as well during the wilderness years where obviously Doctor Who practically survived on this form of media, there were some crazy stories. I mean, as you mentioned with the TARDIS wiki, I go on there a fair bit, just kind of learn some stuff. And even with like I don't know, random example, Anthony Ainley's Master, with the expanded media, okay, yeah, there are multiple versions of what happened. Um, you finally get to learn what happened to him. It's kind of nice to get some resolutions, which,
yeah,
yeah, you certainly won't be getting anytime soon.
no, exactly. They're not gonna sort of just devote an entire episode of the TV show on what happened to his master now, are they? It's just gonna
Yeah,
go, oh no, we've done that. That went in the past. It's the same with like how Ace actually left the Doctor. We're never gonna get a concrete answer to that. We're just gonna have this sort of multiple choice, arrangement to it, and that's fine.
yeah.
In my head, it's all canon anyway, and anything you can't explain, just say, Time War. Time War messed that up.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to be fair, the Time War, I think, has been used as arguments for plot holes being filled and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. Like I know this because not only do I go on the wiki, I'm a big fan and friend of Davis, who does Broke Canon, obviously, which is just an amazing web series of going through all those weird little things that are now canon in Doctor Who. And I think if I remember, he said in that even that like the Ogrons in like Day of the Doctor, not Day of the Doctor, sorry, Day of the Daleks, are like added there because of the Time War. Like Dark and the Time War put Ogrons in that story. So then you then have this story which originally aired in the 70s, which retroactively has been affected by the Time War. It's just
Wow.
crazy stuff.
That does sound like a really cool concept though, and You know what? I would love. I mean, again, as you said, there's certain things you'll probably never see done on screen now these days. But imagine just seeing like I don't know a recreation of a classic episode, or maybe they do it on the collection box sets through some digital magic, and then you suddenly have I don't know modern esque RTD Daleks appearing in I don't know Genesis of the Daleks, just as a random example. Just seeing one just randomly turn up,
Mhm.
or Dalek Khan, just randomly popping out. It would be really cool to,
Yeah, just popping in and then popping out again as you go through reality or something. Yeah,
you know, certainly, yeah, that there is a lot of
yeah.
material to be explored,
I,
with expanded media.
yeah. I've always said that if I was showrunner, one of the things I would do would be I would like have at least like one episode a year, which is like my experimental one.
Yeah,
So I'd have one filmed absolutely in the style of like classic Who, in the sense that the cast rehearse it like a pantomime, basically, and then film it, like in a studio, just going through like that. I think it'd be so interesting to do, and it'd be cheap as well. Original camera scripts for certainly a lot of the classic series. So it'd be interesting to sort of go through that and try it.
yeah, exactly. And you know, that's the thing with like expanded media. Like, there's a lot more experimentation as well with themes, and certainly as well bringing in characters as well. Like, oh, the name escapes me, but I remember in the Doctor Who magazine, especially the Dalek Hunter. I forgot his name now.
Oh, Absom Dak.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Who is a character we haven't seen on screen, but is a very interesting character that originated from the comics.
Technically, he's in Time Heist.
Oh, is there like an Easter egg for? Um,
Yeah, there's like a little, they flash up like criminals across the universe, and they have a little picture of Absom Dak in
oh,
Time
really?
Heist.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Oh, I actually didn't know that. Well, there you go. So technically, Beep the Meep isn't the first character that originated from a comic. There you go. Wow.
there you go.
Wow, I've certainly had my mind blown today. But let's get back onto the podcast discussion, because I'm curious to know, Jack. You've, as I've seen from when I've known you and gotten into your podcast, you've produced a fair few episodes. And I'm curious to know, what if you had to pick a highlight, what's been the highlight of making an awful lot of running podcast?
It's tough because there's been a lot. It's really sort of open doors and expecting. It's been so fun and wonderful. I would probably have to say though, when we did an episode with Sophie Aldred, who is my favorite companion
Yeah,
and is absolutely the person that you think she is going to be. Like they say, don't meet your heroes.
yeah,
Well, those people have obviously never met Sophie Aldred because she was just so kind and amazing and so generous in her answers as well, and so wonderful with her time. And then I met her a good few months ago, and then she recognized me, and it was wonderful. So yeah, it's probably that episode, and it's probably the one I'm most proud of as
wow.
well, because it felt like we sort of kicked up a notch.
Yeah, I mean that certainly is ace, if you pardon the pun. But it is really cool. When you're creating, especially podcasts, that you do get those opportunities, because, as you said, the more you work as a creator, the more you, I guess, grind in that field. As you said, it opens doors. And one in particular, which opened for both of us, was the panel at MCM, which I thought was, a tremendous treat to not only meet you, the other Jack, and Josh as well, and obviously to, I guess, perform in front of a crowd was certainly something, and definitely a memory that I do hold close to my heart for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, me too. It was an amazing experience to get to do that because I'd applied a couple of times before, and didn't hear anything back, and then it was just one of those sort of serendipitous moments where we all just got to do this thing together. And I knew Jack and the other Jack Reeves, I should say, from the community show, and Josh Carr. I knew them very well, both friends, and didn't know you so well. So it was
Yeah.
great to then do this thing all of us together and get to know each other and have this just sort of amazing experience. And it's really funny because if you watch the video back now of the panel, you can see when the Daleks come on, towards the start of the panel, I actually look like really nervous, and I'm like, but then I suddenly find my footing at some point. I think it's during your segment when you're asking questions, and I just go, oh, I can just talk about Doctor Who now.
Yeah.
That's great. And then yeah, it was so much fun, so much fun. Like, I hope we can do something like it again.
Yeah, certainly. I do as well, because I think as well, talking from my own experience, when it comes to, I don't know, if I had to do a presentation or something, like, I am nervous, especially if it's something, say when I was at school, something that I didn't particularly have a lot of interest in. So I'll be like, oh, how am I going to approach this? But obviously we were talking about Doctor Who, which is a show that we love. So as soon as that's mentioned, like when I started talking about the 60th and what we all thought, I just felt like I was in my zone. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what you said as well about, comfort. You know, a show that provides us comfort, we're just going to feel passionate about, and it's just going to roll off the tongue. And honestly, I feel like we all smashed it, and I really enjoyed your segment as well, because it was nice to engage in fan debate, and yeah, I guess it kind of really does fit into the heart of Doctor Who. So yeah, it was really lovely, and yeah, certainly something I do hope to do again.
You did so well as well during my segment during the Battles and Fandom part, which is another show we do on the podcast. I think I suppose I should say as well that we do interviews, we do reviews, and then we also have Battles and Fandom, which is our debate show. It's
Yeah.
our quote unquote rip off of movie fights, which is what Screen Junkies used to do back in the day. Don't send their lawyers my way. I cannot afford to pay any royalties or anything like that. But basically, it's like that with Doctor Who. And we basically just get on three big Doctor Who fans from Twitter or content creators such as yourself, or Mr. TARDIS has been on before, Raston Productions, Philip Hawkins have all been on the show. And we've had a fantastic time just having people debate, go at each other,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting how the passion can also lead to hilarity as well, because there have been plenty of just really funny moments where things like we did one question which was on if you were going to pitch a Peter Cushing style movie nowadays, adapting an episode of Doctor Who, casting a Doctor from a Hollywood A-lister, who's it going to be? And we had some great picks there. We had Florence Pugh in Crash of the Byzantium, which was from Josh Carr, which was a really good one. We had Tom Holland in an adaptation of The Caves of Androzani, which again would have been pretty good. And then Jack Reeves pitched up with Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Midnight.
Oh, did someone say Dwayne the Rock Johnson though? Because
Yes, and now you understand. Now you understand why it was a Dwayne The Rock Johnson and a Golden Day Lieutenant.
well, there's Golden David Tennant as well. Oh my.
Yes.
Oh my. Well, I mean, I shouldn't really act surprised that Jack came up with something like that, but you know what? That's something I've literally got in my head right now. Is literally Dwayne the Rock Johnson like on that set in the little cruiser thing. Wow.
I really, I really recommend people check out if of any episodes that one in particular, because the way Jack describes it is chef's kiss. Genuinely, the particularly the moment where it's revealed that Sky, so is it Sky Silvestri? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Has the midnight entity within her and is trying to take over the Doctor. The way he describes that, beautiful. And I'm not gonna do it now. You have to go and listen to it because Jack does it amazing.
Wow. that is a little tease for you all. So if you want to listen to this amazing idea from Jack Reeves, there will be a link to Jack Alexander's podcast in the description of this video. So be sure to check that out because believe me, it does sound like a crazy but very innovative idea. But before we wrap up the segments regarding podcasts, Jack, you've obviously, again, produced a fair few podcast episodes. You've had a variety of guests on, including the amazing ace, Sophie Aldred. And I am curious to know, do you have any advice for people that want to start a podcast?
I suppose my biggest piece of advice would be just to just start it. Just don't have the inhibitions. Don't be worried about what you sound like or what you're gonna do. Just start, because your first episode probably will be terrible
Yeah.
looking back on it, but you'll get better each time and you'll get more accustomed to it and you'll enjoy it more as well, and you'll actually do. So basically just do it and just enjoy it, really, is what I'd say. I wouldn't say expect anything too much from it. Just don't expect your audience to be massive day one. Just have that slow trickle. Even forget about it. I don't even look at the numbers anymore. I just put it out there and have a good fun with people that want to engage with it. Just enjoy yourself is, I suppose, my biggest sort of piece of advice. And maybe just, if you have an idea, maybe listen to other podcasts which are similar to it to maybe get a vibe of how you speak or how you present things. So because you don't want to be sat there just rambling like I am right now.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the natural conversation. I mean, at least for me, that's something I enjoy when I listen to podcasts because I kind of when I listen, I want to kind of in a weird way get to not know that personality, and I guess once you get to know the personality, you get to decide if you want to continue with the podcast or not. But one of the things that got me into doing my podcast, which obviously you're on now, was the MCM panel, which where I think at that point I might have been the only one that didn't have a podcast at that point. I think.
I don't know if Jack Reeves had a podcast at that point. He certainly had one after that,
Yeah,
and
and
I think it was an even split of hoochers and podcasters. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like looking back at that, and then well, before and especially after as well, I spent a lot of time listening to yours and Josh's, and when Jack started his, I listened, just to support friends, and I really started like vibing with the format, and I was very curious to know, like, oh, would I be able to do this? And then thinking back at the panel, you know, and the opportunities I've been given, working with the Confused Adipose on his fan film and with DW 2012, I was like, I'm meeting a lot of people because of Doctor Who. And I'm just like, oh, you know what? It'd just be a good idea just to, okay, I know a few people. Let's talk about this show. Let's do some theories. Let's, just completely go off and just talk a load of waffle. And that's kind of, I guess that's kind of my synopsis for Just a Nerd, really, just celebrating, the creativity and stuff. Because the Doctor Who community, again, it's in a unique position because it's been around for, 60 years. And there's fans from a variety of backgrounds, audiences, genders, and there's just so much passion in the creative, there's artwork, videos, fan films, audios, it's podcasts. There's just so much there, and it deserves to be highlighted. And that was kind of why I decided to get involved in that that genre.
Well, I'm so glad you got involved as well, because listening back to some of the ones that you've done, previously, are really, really fantastic interviews and
You.
really, really great podcasts. So, I always say it's when someone is passionate about something, it's sort of like the most interesting thing in the world. They could be talking about anything. If they're passionate about it, they deserve me to sit there and listen to it. And I always find it super interesting as well anyway. So I've really enjoyed listening to Just a Nerd. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you, Jack. Thank you for giving me that review there, honestly. And it does mean a lot, especially, coming from you who, you're more experienced in the whole podcast field. So, yeah, it does really mean a lot. And it also means even more of a lot to have you here as well, to talk about that show that I think we're fans of. And yeah, it's again, just really cool. But let's move on to a very, very interesting segment, which before I get into, this answer will be marked by my audience because, Doctor Who, especially on Twitter, is known for hot takes and spiciness. And the winner at the end of the podcast's current run will win a £50 Amazon voucher. So, you never know. You might be able to put it towards, a new Blue Yeti or a new microphone cable or something perhaps, you know. But if you,
That'd be nice, yeah.
I just had to flip it into something relevant, just to reference that lost media of just a nerd.
Yes.
But anyway, let's get on to the question, Jack, because your question is, my friend, with the 60th anniversary specials just over 2 months away, how would you like them to release? Would you like them to be weekly releases, such as every Saturday or Sunday for 3 weeks, or would you like them to be released all on one day? And that day would be the 23rd of November, which is obviously the 60th anniversary. So, Jack, the floor is yours.
Okay, so first things first, literally the worst case scenario in my head is them all being released on the same day.
Yeah.
And especially it being the actual 23rd, because
Oh.
it's a Thursday.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I don't want the 60th anniversary just dropped on iPlayer or Disney Plus on the 23rd on a random Thursday in November. It's got to be that peak event television again.
Yeah.
So what you have in my mind is you have it weekly. You have it leading up to the 25th of November, which is the Saturday following the anniversary, obviously it being the closest one there. And you have they're playing the 2 Saturdays before that as well. So that means that, yes, the Giggle will be the one which airs on the 25th.
Yeah.
Which will be perfect then. And specifically, again, Saturday night.
Yeah.
Straight after Strictly Come Dancing. Okay?
Yeah.
The spiritual home of Doctor Who. You have to mine that nostalgia. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people like it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
For me, I need my Doctor Who on a Saturday. I need that extra day after it to digest it or to rewatch it before I have to go back to work on the Monday.
Yeah.
I need that time. So for me, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And yeah, as you mentioned, the whole nostalgia of Doctor Who airing around that time slot, about between 7 and 8 o'clock, is a very interesting point, especially with the 60th anniversary specials. Already showing a lot of nostalgia towards Series 4 and the comics and stuff like that. It would be the perfect opportunity to get the show back in the limelight. And the only reason why I brought up this question is because we don't know when the specials are airing exactly yet. All we know is November. But because there's been a rise of shows just dropping all episodes at once, like with Amazon with Good Omens, Netflix with practically everything, there's been a lot of discussion with Doctor Who doing it. There was a lot of discussion about when Flux was about to air, with that being an ongoing story. Thankfully, it didn't, because the cliffhangers were worth it. And it does certainly make you think, because, we've just had a gap here. And my fears is that if they just release it all on one day, whatever that day is, once they're out there, that's it. You don't get any speculation about cliffhangers. You don't get, the hype. And it's just all done in one day, and then we've got to wait until the Christmas special, which is
yeah, exactly, yeah. And actually, this ties in a lot into another podcast I was listening to recently, which is Who Corner to Corner. They're a fantastic podcast. They recently just had Chris Chibnall on the podcast as well, and in that episode, they're talking about Chris Chibnall's talking about doing Broadchurch and about doing serialized drama, and yeah, I completely agree, because I love what Disney Plus do, and that they give you an episode and then you have to
Yeah.
wait a week for the next one. Same as if you're watching regular TV, because it gives you those type moments.
Yeah.
You have those water cooler moments of being around at work and being like, oh, did you catch this episode? And like, you talk about the episode itself rather than the series, and you
Yeah.
talk about where it's going to go. Whereas if
Mm.
you have it all there and you can binge it all, you don't get that to the same extent.
Yeah.
It's wrong. I love having Netflix series and being able to go through all the episodes at once, but there's something to be said for having that word of mouth with something like Doctor Who, to be able to go and watch that one episode and then wait a week for your next segment of the story or the
Yeah.
next episode in the story. You need that, I think, to build that hype and to build that speculation and that just engagement as well. It's so much fun to even just think about the 60th now. After we left from where we left from Power of the Doctor, go, what's going to happen? Where's it going to go with this? Okay, Beat the Meepers in episode 1. We don't really know much about the World Beyonder. Okay, the giggle must be the final confrontation with thing, and Shooty's going to come to that somewhere. And it's great to go, oh, well, this is this, and this is this, and this is. Rather than looking at it all, we're
Yeah.
thinking about it segmented like that. And that's what I think we lose with sort of the Netflix model, if you were.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like Netflix as well themselves have shot themselves in the foot as well with that model, especially when it came to the release of Stranger Things. Now, I'm not sure if you've watched that or not, Jack, but with Stranger Things, oh, you have. Oh, that's good to hear. Good to hear. But especially with the latest series, with season 4, there were a lot of like cliffhanger, moments. And yeah, they released volume 1 and volume 2, but I don't know. I feel like again there's a lot of marketing opportunities with cliffhangers, and to put it back onto Doctor Who, random scenario: the Star Beast airs, and okay, you don't have not to bring it down to viewing figures, but say episode 1, it's projected to just earn about 3 or 4 million people watching on the first day. However, the ending, completely random, has Matt Smith show up at the end, completely unannounced. He's there and he says, fish fingers and custard or whatever, to get people hyped. And then, within the 7-day bracket, loads of people are tuning in because they're like, oh my God, Matt Smith's back. And then the catch up data, it's jumped to, I don't know, something like drastic, like 15 million or something like that. And then people want to watch the Wild Blue Yonder, and then that ends up getting something crazy, like, I don't know, again, like 15 to 16 million people tuning in.
Exactly, yeah. What you want is to have it so that episode 1 is so good that people that watch it stay with it to watch the next episode. And I think this is the thing they did. This is you look at Rose. This is probably what happened as well. But people watched it, and then the audience built with it because people that were loving it were then telling their friends and telling their family to watch it. So then they were catching up. And yeah, that's the model you build, I think, rather than just, oh, here's all the episodes at once.
Exactly. And I feel like Doctor Who, again, as you said, it's a show that kind of needs that format because, especially the modern version of the show, cliffhangers are kind of everything. And especially in this day and age, marketing and stuff like that, it's very important to get the show out there and for its, not necessarily just survive, but to get viewership and to get people jumping on and jumping back in, especially, the Matt Smith example. If Matt Smith turns up unannounced as a cliffhanger, people will want to, tune in. And I feel like that would be, a good, it would only be a good thing for sure.
Exactly. And you look at Doctor Who, it has a history of amazing cliffhangers. I mean, yes, it has a history of bad cliffhangers as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Genesis of the Daleks, where Tom just comes out just wiggling some like worms around his chin or something, and thinking of Dragonfire, where Sylvester McCoy just hangs off a cliff, like literally just gets to hang off a cliff for no reason. But then you have amazing ones like the end of Flesh and Stone, where the Doctor's shooting the gun up to shoot the light. You have Jodie turning into a weeping angel, the
Oh
weeping
yeah,
doctor,
phenomenal.
which, in my opinion, best cliffhanger of the entire show.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
yeah, well and truly, and again, phenomenal examples there. For me, my favorite would have to be the Army of Ghosts cliffhanger because I
Mm,
had no clue because I never used to really watch the Next Time trailers when I was younger because I used to think, okay, it's over. I used to switch off and then I don't know, go and play on my Xbox. But so when I saw, that the Daleks come out of the Void Sphere, I was like, what? I was just completely blown away because I didn't expect the Daleks to be back so soon. I know that's kind of like a precedent now, but the fact that they were, came back and then there was that whole,
yeah. I didn't expect it either, and I vividly remember ringing my one friend in secondary school who liked Doctor Who as well after that, and being like, oh my god, what's going on? What? Because then in my head I was thinking that means that we're going to have Daleks and Cybermen in the next episode, and I was like, that's amazing.
yeah,
That's crazy. So it was, yeah, that was fantastic as well, genuinely. And I know there's things about, like, they were at an award ceremony and they brought out the wrong Dalek or something. They
yeah.
brought out Dalek set, but then no one picked up on it or something. So
But I say,
yeah, it's
if that happened in this, like, day and age, like, yeah, there would have been multiple YouTube videos and Twitter posts like, yeah, okay, news, the Daleks have just been leaked to come back in Series 14 or whatever. And yeah, I think RTD and the BBC PR team were very lucky when it came to that mistake.
oh yeah, definitely. If there was if it happened nowadays, there would be inevitable discourse about it, and there would be some really, really hot memes as well. So,
Oh yeah, well and truly. But Jack, overall, your arguments regarding the release schedule for the 60th anniversary special was spot on. You have certainly won me over, especially when it comes to, the reason why it should release weekly. Obviously, generating hype, getting people excited, and obviously people getting excited, they're going to talk about it. And obviously, people talking about it, they're going to tune in. So yeah, you absolutely won me over. However, unfortunately, I am not the deciding factor. So people that are tuning in, whether that be on Spotify or YouTube, however you're consuming the podcast, let us know. Do you feel like Jack absolutely smashed this argument? Let me know. And Jack could be winning a £50 Amazon voucher, and you could be the reason. So let us know. And yes, before we wrap things up, we have a few audience questions. And Jack, you best get your seatbelt on because this could be a wild ride. So I'm going to be heading over to Twitter, and I've got 5 questions to go through. Are you ready to get asked them?
yeah, I've seen these, and I've prepared myself for this.
Okay. So from Catherine, choice of shower gel flavor.
Cat, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Cat? Uh, mint. There,
Mint,
obviously,
mint,
mint.
mint.
Yeah,
Nice, nice, nice. Well,
yeah. I like the tingle of it.
you like the tingle of the mint? Okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I can vibe with that. I can vibe with that. Okay, next question from the vacuum of comments. What's the worst vacuum of comments video?
All of them.
Oh,
I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Vacuum of comments. His real name Ben Warburton. He's genuinely one of my best friends. He's a fantastic YouTuber who does these really funny videos. His worst series ever is really, really great, where he goes through Doctor Who episodes and has a parody version of himself as well that chips in as a as like the non-PC version of himself, and it's very funny. And every one of his videos is fantastic. A lot of his sort of video essays I love as well. I always find with Ben that if I watch one of his videos, I come out of it not only smarter, but sort of I've had a good time as well, because there'll always be at least one joke in there which will have me pausing the video because he's making me laugh so much. So, Ben, you've tried to trap me, but no, you're wonderful, and people should be subscribing to you.
Well, there you go. Shout out to Ben. There you go. Positivity all round. That's what we love to see. Well, the next question for you, Jack, is from the History Between Us. And this question is, hi, Jack. What's your most favourite scene in Spyfall?
And again, I know for a fact that this is Catherine Wheeler again. I know that she hijacked her own fanzine's Twitter just to do this. Right, okay. Something nice about Spyfall? You ready? It ends, and the show continued after it.
Well, there you go. That's certainly an answer.
No, I'll give a genuine one. Sacha Dhawan in it as the Master is amazing. Genuinely, even when some of the material he's given is not the greatest, in my opinion,
Yeah.
he has this way that he can just transform that dialogue. I mean, I think of like the Timeless Children when he has the line that's like, welcome home. I laid out the red carpet. It's red because it's stained with blood of our people.
Yeah.
It's such a terrible line. It's a terrible line, but the way he performs it, I absolutely I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Because he is just this. He's this amazing actor. He's a true method actor, a true just gem. We are so lucky to have his Master, and I hope we see more of him as well. So yeah, something good about Spyfall, Sacha Dhawan.
Yeah, well and truly. And that's something I've got to agree with you. And Doctor Who, despite what people will say, corny dialogue is not unique to the Chris Chibnall era. I mean, it's been there pretty much, probably from the beginning. But having an actor like Sacha Dhawan to kind of elevate it, and yeah, it may still seem corny, but the way he delivers it, it works. It's not as, I don't know, like, yeah, so someone else could deliver it on that basic corny level, but yeah, I guess Sacha does kind of soften the blow a little bit. So yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like when you look at series 12 that Jodie and Joe Martin were doing a lot of heavy lifting and
Mhm.
did a fantastic job with it,
Oh
But
yeah.
like you say, every era of Who has got those sort of like cringe lines. So it's not fair just to, some people do just hark on the Chibnall era for it when actually it's there in all Who. It's there.
Yeah,
It's there all the time.
exactly. I mean, they end up getting meme status eventually, so that probably will end up getting the same meme status as the Love and Monsters episode, the ending with the pavement slab and the whole love life
Yeah. Bit
remark.
of a love life. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm a big Love and Monsters apologist, and that is just it's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
It's just to think we got that, you know.
don't get me wrong, I love the episode, but that scene I kind of, or that line, sorry, I kind of have on a similar level to the carpet.
Mm-hmm.
Well and truly.
Yeah, and you could even lump in that one that Matt Smith has about was it Clara being an enigma, stuck in a shirt that's just slightly too tight, and it's like, oh, what is going on? So yeah.
Yeah, well and truly. But let's move on to the penultimate question. And this is from, I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but from Quad Matter. Listen, that's accurate. But from Quad Matter, who's been the most fun to work with?
Oh, well, I'm going to have to take Robin out of the equation for this because it's, obviously I would say him because he's my partner in crime. He's my Smith to my Jones. He's a wonderful co host and a wonderful friend. So, who's been the most fun to work with? Well, I suppose the MCM panel was pretty great.
Whoop whoop.
Doing that was, straight away working with yourself, Jack, and Josh as well. It was amazing. It was fantastic putting that all together. I can't pick one person genuinely because I've had so much fun working through that. I would also say, I did a voice for the Star Doctor Adventures, which is a wonderful, absolutely fantastic fan Doctor series that people should be checking out, where I play Jim the Fish, who is a sea devil. So I had so much fun doing that because I had to put on the voice.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
I got to say, as a sea devil, what's the plan, Batman?
Oh my, yeah, that is iconic. That is iconic.
I was genuinely so it made all my hopes and dreams. So yeah, it's so too many people to say all at once. You know, I've been very lucky. You know, Mr. TARDIS is another one that's great. Davis, fantastic. I've worked with Ben. Back in your comments, Raston Productions, amazing. Uh, just again, too many people to sort of list off, but everyone I've worked with, everyone I've worked with there, that's my answer. Everyone I've worked with is my favorite.
Well, that's it. That is a completely fair answer, and certainly, like you said, working with so many people in the community, and opening doors to certain opportunities, and that it's great, and obviously, therefore, creating friendships and stuff like that. It is certainly really cool to hear. But for your final question, Jack. Oh, the final question from Oscar Groucho. Uh, who is the Enigma? I hope I said that right.
Oh, so Oscar Groucho's um, absolutely amazing friend, really great fan of the podcast, really fantastic supporter. I think he knows that he very much is the felt enigma himself, and there is no one I know who quite actively stands the Leakley Bible as himself. So the enigma is him, and yeah, he's the enigma.
Well, that's certainly an identity that has been resolved. We certainly don't have who's Spider-Man here. We know who the Enigma is.
But
But
now that we know, is he still the enigma? That's the it's like
yeah.
a ooh.
Oh, there's going to be a plot twist there. But thank you, Jack, so much for coming on today. It really has been a pleasure to be talking to you once again. And yeah, I know that we've had a few technical issues and have created a lost episode, but it has been a pleasure to be working with you again to create a podcast episode to be talking about that show that we love.
Yeah, it's thank you so much for having me on. It's great to come on other people's stuff. I always say that I'm the easiest person to get on stuff because I just love talking to people and I love not having to do the editing. So ask me on stuff and I will do it. I will just say yes, absolutely, because I don't want to have to do the editing myself because it's too much like work.
Yes, well, Andrew, that's something I can agree on. But again, thank you for coming on, Jack. And for those of you that are listening or watching, however you're consuming the podcast, be sure to click that like button, subscribe for more podcast episodes, and leave a comment as well. What did you think of the episode? And more specifically, what did you think of Jack's answer to the hot debate question? And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye for now.